In-camera editing is an editing technique that is used to build a sequence. A lot of edits are created using lots of different programs such as Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro, but it involves recording the shots in the same order as they would appear in the film once the shots have been edited. The technique of following the action is pretty simple. The camera captures everything the character is doing by following what he or she is doing. The following the action edit is normally used in a scene that contains a lot of action, such as a gun scene, as there is always something happening. For example, this edit is used in the ending of Quantum of Solace with the guns and the explosions. The multiple points of view edit is used in a film to show various characters' points of view. This is because a film only normally has one storyline. The technique is used so that the viewer is able to see multiple points of view from multiple characters, and this helps the film progress. An example of this edit is a scene in the film Magnolia where a man suddenly hits the brakes and a tow falls from the sky and lands on his windshield. Shot variation means using a variety of different shots when filming. These include a long shot that gives a full picture of the subject. It fully shows the viewer what it is. For example, if there is a dog in the scene, then you'll be able to see the dog and the contents of the background. The medium shot is a shot that doesn't show as much as what the long shot does, but it does isolate the subject from the background. It is usually used often to focus on a particular part of something. So instead of focusing on the whole house like a long shot would, it would only focus on the front door. A close-up is just a shot that zooms onto the subject. It is a very powerful shot because the subject takes up the whole screen, bringing the audience closer to it. For example, it can show emotion a lot better, and the audience can feel the emotion more with a close-up than a medium shot. This shot is used on a person's face. An extreme long shot is just a variation of the long shot, and it films the subject from an even further distance. It is often used as an establishing shot to set the scene. The manipulation of the diegetic time and space technique is when a film uses an effect in order to show a passing of time or age. For example, a person shown to get older or younger through this effect. Loads of films and TV shows have taken advantage of this technique, and an example of this is in the last episode of Blackadder. Film editing is a creative part of the post-production process of filmmaking. It involves the use of digital technology and software. The film editor works with the raw footage that he is given. He then selects shots and combines them into sequences, which then creates a finished motion picture film. Video editing is the editing process of a video, which is generally used as a rehearsal before then going and film editing. It consists of the same features like seeing a narrative unfold through camera, shot, angles, and also techniques. Analog was the main type of editing technique before the birth of digital editing. The work print, a copy of the film, got handed to the editor, who would then do the task by hand, although a splicer would be used for this to be done, as the footage would get cut and pasted by the editor. There are many different features you can use to edit your clip. For example, import and removing audio from your clips. You also have to put your clips into a timeline and place them how you would want them, so you are able to have several clips combined into one with good continuity. Every film has to have a good story and be able to tell it so the audience remain interested. It is very important as the film must keep the viewer's attention for the whole film, as if the film has a terrible story, the viewer is going to lose interest and not want to watch the film. Within a film with big dramatical elements to it, the methods used to edit a film can establish a real intensity. Camera shots do play a huge part in the development of drama. A very popular shot that gets used in dramatic films is the reaction shot. This shot shows how the character might behave in a certain situation. Emotion is the main way to create drama, because if there is no emotion generated, there is no drama. Editing different genres of film have different conventions, techniques and styles. for example the genre of horror. Dark scenes with low-key lighting such as black for the scenes with little lighting and red. Horror movies are normally set in places that are abandoned for many years and are dark and frightening. Unnatural camera movements that makes the viewer feel scared and nervy, as there normally is jumpy moments. Unnatural camera movements create fear within the audience if there are many jerky and jump out moments. Strange sounds and disturbing sounds that, for example, come up the stairs when the character is going down, like in The Woman in Black. Way of keeping the interest of the audience in the film, as this is created by motivation. In order to find out how the viewer will feel and how it will affect them in a positive way, the editor must look for motivation in their cuts. Also, it is essential for the editor to cut at the appropriate time and to make sure the narrative develops and progresses further. Choosing the right pace, depending on the genre of film, of the cuts is also important. To help persuade the audience how they feel about a scene or character, the editor must get it right when they are cutting from one scene to another, or when they are cutting from one character to another. Another important feature when creating motivation is sound too. For example, if a character hears a loud noise that causes them to turn their head, cutting to what the character is looking at to keep the audience interested. Combining shots into sequences is the most basic and most used method in film and video editing. It is placing several shots, one after another, that creates a seamless flow between the preceding and succeeding shots in order so that it becomes a full sequence. Creating pace is the creation of emotion through the camera shots and movements, as well as the music. It makes no sense to have a romantic song in the background of a gun scene and slow camera movements. Seamless and continuity editing is known as invisible editing. This is because it doesn't mean there isn't any editing, it means that the cuts between the shots are really well matched to what is happening and flows without you even noticing. Motivated editing, where something is not in the scene. For example, a man is standing alone down a flight of stairs and we hear sound coming from a different place in the house, and he goes to investigate and she appears behind him. The sound motivates the audience to stay interested. For example, in The Woman in Black. A montage is where a lot of shots are merged together into a sequence so they can show past events to refresh the minds of the audience quickly. An example of this is in the opening scene of Hot Fuzz. Jump cut is just a cut in film editing in which two shots, one after another, of the same subject are shot from camera positions that are only slightly different. This type of editing shows the effect of a jump in time. An example of this is from the film The Ring, where the girl comes out of the TV towards him and then stands up and is instantly in front of him. Parallel editing is a technique where alternating two or more scenes that tend to happen at the same time, although in different locations. If the scenes are simultaneous, they occasionally culminate in one single place, where normally the relevant characters confront each other. An example of parallel editing is in the scene of The Godfather, where the character is in the church and there is a murder. The 180-degree rule is a cinematography guideline which says two characters in a scene should have a left to right relationship to each other. When the camera passes over the invisible axis that connects to two characters, it is called crossing the line, and the shot a reverse angle. A transition is a technique that is used in post-production process of film editing and video editing, by which scenes or shots are combined. This is normally through just a normal cut to the following scene. An example of this is in Lord of the Rings, where he's looking at the sky and it cuts to creatures fighting up above him. In post-production process, of film and video editing. A dissolve is a gradual transition that goes from one image or scene to another. The term fade out and fade in are also used to describe the transition to and from the image or scene. An example of this is the scene from Citizen Kane, which the man going through the saloon doors and then dissolves to the newspaper scene. A wipe is a type of transition where one shot replaces another by travelling from one side of the screen to the other. In film and video, a cutaway is essentially just the interruption of a continuous filmed action. This is done by putting a scene of something different. This is usually, but not always, followed by a cut back to the original scene. This is when the cutaway avoids a jump cut. A point of view shot, or a POV, is just a shot through the eyes of the character or subject. Shot reverse shot is where the camera goes from someone to someone or something to something. This is normally used when filming a conversation.